A warm welcome to all of you and a heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha Sharda, would like to thank all of you for watching my videos, writing in your comments and your suggestions. In this series, we have been continuing about diseases. In the last video, we talked about Kalpurush Kundli and how to analyze very easily any problem with the Kalpurush Kundli. Today, we're going on to another part of analysis. We will be taking up another layer, and that is seen through Karakas. Later on, we will also take up the D-6 chart to understand the diseases better. So, Karakas. Every house has a Karaka, and the Naisargic Karaka are the ones that are denoted by people in our lives. For example, sun denotes a father, moon denotes the mother, Mars denotes brothers and sisters, uncles and cousins are denoted by Mercury, Saturn denotes a working class, people who work for us. Venus in a lady's chart, in a man's chart, talks about his wife, and Jupiter denotes in everybody's chart typically the grandparents and the children, but in a man's chart it also denotes, in a female's chart it also denotes the wife. So all these things are to be taken into account, and we can also look at the disease. Here what we are going to talk about is the sixth house in particular. So if in the sixth house a person has a planet, then we check out the Karaka. And after that, we also check out that house and we see if that house has any issues pertaining to that Karaka, and then we can very well make out that the person's relative, near and dear one, could be undergoing certain medical issues. But before we move on further, I would also like to add one fact. Generally, when we are seeing a Yoga Karaka planet causing that affliction, especially when it's a malefic, we tend to question that the Yoga Karaka, how could a Yoga Karaka be a malefic? In our lives, we have many roles to play. We can play the role of a wife, mother, sister, brothers, and friends, many roles. And each role is an individual in its own. We play all the roles. Similarly, the planets can have many roles to play. As the fourth lord, it could have a role to play, but at the same time, as a seventh lord, it could become a Maraka. As a third lord, it could give you a lot of energy, but as an eighth lord, it could also bring about a lot of transformation, sudden changes in your life. So each role that a planet has, especially if it's a malefic, it will create problems. If it's a benefic, it may help you get better. Keeping this in mind, let us move ahead. So we are talking about diseases through Karakas and D6. When we take up Einstein's chart, last time I had taken up Einstein's chart also, and I had showed you how we come across that it was Einstein had major issues with his stomach. He had liver ailments and he had so many problems, had been on medication for 39 years of his 76 years of age. Today, we take up Moon again in his sixth house. So that is an area which is a very choppy waters, if I can say so. And Scorpio is the sign here in the Kalapurusha Kundali. Moon denotes mother. So we need to check out the fourth house also. And in the sixth house of Scorpio, we know the body part that this represents, apart from stomach, because the sixth house is generally the stomach, it also represents, Scorpio also represents your bowels. Okay. And when we check out the fourth house to reinforce whether mother did undergo any problem, we see that the Lord is debilitated in Pap Kartari between two malefics, Saturn and Sun, and the fourth house is also aspected by this Saturn and Sun and the 12th Lord Venus. Apart from that, Rahu from the 8th house aspects this fourth house. So there is a huge malefic aspect on this fourth house. So mother would definitely be under a lot of strain. Moon, the Karaka of mother, is sitting in the sixth house, denoting mother could have problems. The sign here is Scorpio, as I told you earlier. It represents the bowels. His mother passed away due to intestinal cancer. Intestinal cancer can also be can be seen from the 6th house as well as the 8th house. So in all, effect that we need to check is definitely the 6th house, the Karaka, the respective house that the Karaka is influenced by. Again, we should also be checking the Kalapurusha house. Also, it'll give a very clear picture. Now we move on to an example with which we will take the D6 chart also. A person well known to me, as we see in his chart. As we are talking about the issues of the stomach here, and we should not have forgotten that the 8th house shows chronic disorders. 8th house of the Kalpuraksha Kundali was Scorpio here, so it showed chronic disorders of the stomach. 8th house in general shows chronic disorders. Okay, and here we see that the Lagna is, again, I would like to repeat one thing: we should not mix the topics when we are doing medical astrology. If we stick to medical astrology, it will give us a better answer. So here we are seeing the 8th house of the natural zodiac as the Lagna. So this person could, depending on the position of Mercury and Mars, be prone to chronic disorders. Mercury is very strong in his chart. Mercury, as we know, is present in the 8th house. It's retrograde, and it is also Digbali. The retrograde gives its the Cheshtabali power. So this Mercury is very strong, becoming the lord of the 8th house, placed, and the 11th house. From the health point of view, 11th house is not a very good house. So from the health point of view, when these two it becomes the ruler of these two houses, it shows that the person can have recurring health issues because Mercury is retrograde. Is sitting with Sun and Venus. Sun is again the lord of the 10th house, and Venus is the lord of the 7th house. When we are talking about the spine, when we talk about the spine, it is very important to check out both the 7th and the 10th house. And both the 7th lord and the 10th lord are afflicted with the presence of this very strong Mercury. Sun in the Lagna gives one a strong health, and that is the reason why this person, in spite of 35 plus years of having a real back problem, has been able to survive it. Let us also not forget that the 8th house of this Kundali is tenated by Rahu. Rahu is definitely one of those planets that mislead or do not give a complete reason or analysis as to why a person suffers from a certain disease. Now we move on. For this person, we move on ahead and see his D6 chart and check out if this chronic issue is really going to continue for a long period of time without much relief. When we check out his 6th house, because the 6th house is a house which talks about issues or diseases that are curable, and they would be cured after a small period of time. Here again we see in his D6 the 6th house is tenanted by the 6th lord and by the 11th lord, and the 11th lord, as I've already told you earlier, does not bode well for health issues. But here it causes a Viprit Rajyog with 6th lord in 6th house. So this person is, and the sign here is Pisces, which is a watery sign. The planet here is Jupiter, which produces Kapha in the series of Vata Pitta Kapha. So this person is prone to a lot of cough, and he also uh, very quickly the person gets the cold and cough. With slight change of weather, he catches the cold and cough quite easily, and then it inflammates, turns into a fever for some time, and this is a very continuous process for him from quite a lot of long period of time. Now we come to his chronic backache. again we see that the 10th house, as we see, the 10th lord is in the 8th house. It is moon, and it is with Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu, we all know and we are all taught, are planets which are mysterious, and they do not give you the real reason. They also show for what, why something is happening, and they also show chronic disorders. So in the 8th house, it is showing the chronic disorders. To make matters worse, the 7th lord Mars is also aspected by Rahu and Ketu from the 8th house, and Saturn, a very strong Saturn at that, because it is again a yoga karaka. So when it is a yoga karaka, it becomes very strong to have its results in giving results. And we're talking about D6 here, the chart of diseases. So it has the capacity, it has the ability, and it is perpetually able to give you a very strong result about the backache, because it is the lord of the 4th house, and it aspects the 10th house with its 10th aspect. So we can very safely say that the 10th lord is under a lot of malefic influence, as is the 10th house, and so the disease in his back is chronic and is likely to continue for a long period of time. Before I end, I would also like to say that the same charts we would use in our next video to understand how to see on a more subtle level these very diseases with nakshatras. So till we meet you again, stay tuned and keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, and writing in your comments and your suggestions. Till we meet with you again, thank you.